Welcome to the Prudential Center, everybody, better known as The Rock. And we are rocking and rolling on Big East Shootaround with you from Newark. 4 games tonight and 5 Big East teams in the AP Top 25. All 5 of them are in action here this evening. We're in New Jersey where the governor, Bill Raftery, will be joining us. He'll give us his State of Big East Hoops coming up. And on his bobblehead night, you're going to want to see this. He'll break down the bobblehead. The former Seton Hall coach and a legend will be coming up in just a few moments. But what a Monday for the Big East Conference. We've been telling you about how all 10 teams are in the net top 80, but now you've got all 5 teams, well, 5 of the 10, rather, in the top 25. 2 ranked versus ranked games tonight. Seton Hall ranked 10th in the country, up to number 10 at 10-1 in the Big East, coming off that road win at Villanova. Their first win in Philadelphia since 1994. So the Pirates welcoming in the 23rd ranked Creighton Blue Jays. Meanwhile, you get a top 20 showdown over at the Finneran Pavilion. That's Villanova and Marquette. That comes your way around 8:45 Eastern time on FS1. Part of this ranked versus ranked FS1 doubleheader. Speaking of which, the Fox Sports crew is over at the Finneran Pavilion tonight. It's an eventful night because you've got Ryan Arcidiacono, his jersey, that number 15, that Villanova fans, they put synonymously with that 2016 national championship game run and the win over North Carolina. The dish off to Big Smooth, Chris Jenkins. Tonight, Archie gets honored. Also on the line tonight, some history, which takes us to the headlines. Marcus Howard. He's 1,384 points. That's what he's got in his career in the Big East. Howard just 21 away from Lawrence Moden's all-time record in Big East play. So this is a tally of all regular season Big East games. Lawrence Moden, the Syracuse legend, 1,405 career points. Marcus Howard, 21 away from tying it, 22 from breaking it. And folks, what we're watching right now is truly special. Howard leading the nation with 28 points per game, right around 30 points per game in Big East play. Nobody has ever averaged around 30 points a game, 30 or more in Big East Conference play. And tonight for Howard could just be another chapter of his legend in the blue and gold. And I would say to Marquette fans, relish in this. He is a talent unlike any other the program has seen, unlike any other that we've truly seen in the history of college basketball. That's how special of a scorer he is. Speaking of special, a rivalry is renewed tonight. Xavier and Butler for the 63rd time, and we will have the Musketeers head coach, Travis Steele, coming up on the show. He knows a thing or two about this rivalry. An undergrad at Butler in 2004, graduating then. He really started his coaching career with the Bulldogs. He was a manager. He learned from Brad Stevens. He learned from Thad Matta, Todd Licklider, some big names. And Travis Steele credits Butler for really starting his career out in head coaching, and now in his second season in his first job as a head coach at Xavier. His Musketeers are red hot. They've won 3 in a row, and tonight brings another test against a Butler team that's been really good defensively. Meanwhile, number 3 on our headlines, you think about the depth of the Big East and in conference play. This is a league that's just so stacked, folks. I mean, you've got 3 teams in the top 16 reveal from the selection committee: Butler, Seton Hall, Villanova. And for the Pirates, they were already projected as a 3 seed heading into Saturday. Think about what a road win at Villanova does for them. They now have a combined 8 Quadrant 1 wins. On top of that, Seton Hall's won 6 consecutive true road games for the first time since the mid-1950s. Pretty historic what is going on right now in South Orange, and that's brought a crowd of nearly 10,000 here tonight to the Prudential Center for a matchup with the Creighton Blue Jays. We are awaiting Bill Raftery. Coach is the celebrity in the house right now, and it's his bobblehead night here. Coach here at Seton Hall for about a decade. He's better known for his broadcasting ability, and he'll tell you that as well. Tonight he's in the house with Gus Johnson. They've got the telecast, 6:30 Eastern time on FS1. Tell you what, Bill's legend, it knows no limits. And there was a piece from the New York Post out yesterday that featured P.J. Carlissimo, the Seton Hall great who led them to the 1989 National Championship game, and just what he sees on this Seton Hall team. He compared them to the 1993 team that won the Big East Championship game, won by 30 points over Syracuse, and took the conference title home. Had a second-round exit, ironically, to Kevin Willard, Ralph Willard, and Western Kentucky. So if there's someone who knows about what was a great Seton Hall team that ended up not living up to expectations in the NCAA tournament, it's Kevin Willard, because he was on the other side of the court. And that's something that he talks with this Seton Hall team about. That's a great example. Terry DeHare, who's in the house tonight, was part of that team. And they had Luther Wright. They had several really strong players. But it just shows you what you're doing now doesn't necessarily correlate with what you're doing in March. And that's why tonight's an interesting game for this Seton Hall team, because they've shown that they can beat the best in the country. They've shown that they're a Final Four candidate. But you've got to do it game in and game out, and they have not been as good at home. Right now, Bill Raftery is getting swarmed by some Seton Hall fans, so we are awaiting Coach to join us on set here. Plenty of Big East headlines. If you think about the depth of this league, if you think about what's coming up here tonight, you've got 4 games. Take a look at the Big East standings, and Seton Hall at the top of the table with 10-1. Then 3 teams at 7-4, and all 3 of those teams are in action here tonight. The question now in the Big East is, who's the second best team in this league? Well, Villanova would be everybody's first answer, but tonight the Wildcats have a Marquette team coming in that's won 6 of their last 7 games. Golden Eagles are on fire, and so that makes it really interesting tonight at the Finneran Pavilion. So Coach Raftery is making his way here right now, shaking Sandro Mukalashvili's hand. He'll play an impact tonight. We'll have some keys to the game coming up. Sandro, 17 points against Villanova on Saturday in Philadelphia, and you could just feel the intensity in the building right now. There's a vibe in here that something special's going on, and I know Coach knows a thing or two about that as he joins us now. Coach Raff! The governor.
Live?
We are on live. This is the beauty of live television here, and we've got it here. Your bobblehead. So break this down for me.
I will use this later. Looks more like Jay Wright than me, which I'll take as a compliment.
It pays a tribute to the great coaching job you did at Seton Hall.
Well, I don't know. I think they were glad to get rid of me, but that was very nice. Like a basket of onions, very appropriate. The mic should be a Budweiser, but what can you do? You can't correct everything.
What was your favorite place to go in South Orange when you were coaching?
Wow. I guess the best answer would be all of them. We used to go to a place called Victor's, which then became a Mexican restaurant. Vinny Calisandro owned it, and after the game, it was usually relatives, friends, and the only rule was we never talked about the game. So everybody was happy and enjoyed dinner and a couple of drinks and worried about it the next day.
When you go to dinner with Kevin Willard, who picks up the tab?
Well, you know, between you and me, I'm not crazy about him, so I try to avoid him as much as I can, particularly during the season. But after the season, it's usually at a golf course that we get together and chat a little bit. But just to jump ship a little bit, what they're doing here is just incredible. He and his staff, I've talked to a couple of coaches this week about nothing in general, and all of a sudden his name comes up, the job he's been doing with this team. And what's great is they have a lot of pieces, and it looks like the kids really get along. So it's been fun to see him. You know, I've known him since he was at Pitt as a player. I know the family, and just to see him grow as a coach is obviously very impressive and great for the university.
Coach, what was known about this Seton Hall team was Miles Powell. You just mentioned, though, the supporting cast that has evolved, particularly a league candidate for Big East Defensive Player of the Year in Romaro Gill at the rim. What has he done to this team?
Well, you'll remember the game, I'm not sure which one here, where they asked for Powell after the game, and he brought Romaro Gill over because of the impact that he had on the game, and I think that just supports what I was suggesting, that they really get along. They care for one another. They realize that everybody's contributions and everybody is bought in, and that's very unusual anymore with sometimes outside influences and inner selfishness. But this seems to be a group that, just hangs tough, able to overcome obstacles and close out games, which is extremely impressive.
On the other side is a Creighton team that also, like Seton Hall, has 18 wins on the season, ranked in the top 25. How are they getting it done?
Well, if you turn around and look at that basket, they can make them from right here. Yeah. So that's the devastating part. Their early push within 3 to 4 seconds, and if you don't get back, and a lot of big guys run to the rim, and this team, you can't just run to the rim, you got to cover on the wing. So they just stretch your defense, make it more difficult. Some of your principles that you adhere to all year long just don't work against Creighton.
Villanova and Marquette also on the docket tonight. The Big East with 5 teams in the top 25. Looking at the Wildcats for a moment. They've lost 3 in a row. It's not like they've played poorly. What do you want to see shift with Villanova here going forward, Jay Wright?
Well, I don't think it's as much Villanova as this league catches up with you. One game can beget another in this league if you certainly don't approach it, or emotionally you're down because of the last loss. So, with them, a little bit like Creighton, if they don't shoot the ball well, which is sort of a naive thing to say, they have difficulties, and all the parts aren't shooting well for them at this point. So they're relying on a couple of guys, so defenses are gearing to that.
Before I let you go, you just were talking about the league and how it can catch up to you. You had Kamar Baldwin last week beat Villanova for Butler. You got Marcus Howard throughout this season, now about to become the Big East all-time leading scorer. Miles Powell on the court tonight. How special is this senior class?
It's pretty impressive, obviously. It'll be interesting to see who's player of the year, and it'll probably go to the team that wins it or comes in second over one of the other players, but it's been enjoyable. It's been great to see the renaissance of the league going back 6 years now, where they're legit and they're competitive, and gone out in November and December and played the best teams available and competed at a high level and been successful. So this sort of bears the fruit now, the success they have against one another here. It's just going to be a slugfest the next 2 weeks, and we can enjoy it. Coaches and players may not enjoy it as much, or fans.
Rumor has it you give Willard your bobblehead, he gives you 2 bottles of wine.
I'll go for that. I think I'm ahead of the game with that. Yeah. But for me to get anything from Willard, that would be an upset. So,
Coach, thank you. Have a great call tonight. Yeah, good. Absolutely. Thanks, Coach Raftery, the legend. And he hands me off the bobblehead, which will be on our Big East Shootaround set very soon as tomorrow. We've got a whole bunch of bobbles, and this one is right up there paying tribute to Coach Raftery. A bag of onions as well. Well, we are going to bring you no hesitation here. Without further ado, how about this? With the Academy Awards on Sunday, here it is, the Big East Hoops Academy Awards. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Big East Academy Awards. After much deliberation from the Academy, we have come to these honors to some of the best that the conference has to offer. We start with the best in a supporting role. The winner is Mitch Ballock from the Creighton Blue Jays, averaging 13 points per game and scoring in double figures in his last 6 contests. Ballock has taken the next step in his game. He's an extension of Greg McDermott on the floor, and that's why Mitch Ballock does it all for this Creighton team, which is in line to return the NCAA tournament. And without Mitch in that backcourt, they're not the same team. He doesn't get enough credit, hence why he's the best in the supporting role. Our next honor, costume design. This was a no-brainer for the Academy. The Marquette Golden Eagles. Marquette has had more jersey combinations than we can count. They just unveiled that they'll do a blackout for their senior day. Kind of a big deal later in the month of February. For the Golden Eagles, they wear that blue, that gold, you name it, so well. And that's why they get the best costume design in this year's Big East Academy Awards. Let's turn to the best screenplay. Some thought this was predictable, but sometimes the Academy just has to go with one that has an argument that can't be trumped. Hinkle Magic. Kamar Baldwin last week against the Villanova Wildcats, it needs no introduction.
Here's Baldwin. Don't settle deep. 5. Baldwin. Step back for the win. Come on, Baldwin.
Baldwin's latest heroics are just an example of a screenplay that's playing out at Hinkle Fieldhouse that is truly special. It's why the Bulldogs were in the NCAA Top 16 reveal earlier this week. Baldwin, Hinkle, the perfect combination. It's now time for our best actor. Right now, it is a nip and tuck battle and a dead heat, and that's why the Academy has gone with an unprecedented co-honor. Miles Powell of Seton Hall, Marcus Howard of Marquette. You're talking about the nation's leading scorer, someone who could break the Big East all-time scoring record tonight. On the other side for Powell, his Seton Hall Pirates are 10-1 in the Big East. He's averaging 28 points per game in Big East road games. All 6 of those have been wins for the Hall. A neck-and-neck battle, we'll have to let the coaches decide this March. And finally, the moment that you've all been waiting for here, I've got the best picture. Give me that drum roll once I find it. The Seton Hall Pirates. What's going on in Newark is generational right now, if not some of the best of the program seen in its over 100 years. You have one of the best talents in Seton Hall history in Powell, an elite rim protector in Romaro Gill, a standout point guard who has taken the next step and then some in Quincy McKnight. Tons of X factors, the complete package, and a coach who knows how to adjust. At the Prudential Center, it's a time to cherish because this senior class is doing something that the program hasn't seen in a long time. And that's why Seton Hall wins the Big East Academy Award for Best Picture. Finally, we'd be remiss to not give out a Lifetime Achievement Award tonight. We are not sticking with the men's game for this one. We're going to the women's game. 42nd year head coach Harry Perretta at Villanova gets our Lifetime Achievement honor in the Big East Academy Awards. 20-plus win seasons, numerous NCAA tournament seasons, and back in the early 80s, even a Final Four trip. Harry Perretta, congratulations on your remarkable career and your upcoming retirement. Thanks for joining us as the music picks up right now for the 2020 Big East Academy Awards. The Academy had some tough choices, but those are the awards they went to. And congrats again to Harry Perretta on an amazing run in the women's game. 42 years. He was hired at the age of 22 as a Villanova women's coach. Just an unbelievable run. Well, we turn to a rivalry renewed tonight. So there's 4 Big East games on the docket, and Xavier making just a short trip to Butler to take on the Bulldogs at Hinkle Fieldhouse. What to watch for in this one? Well, Butler only allows about 62 points per game. Xavier in the month of February, just 59 points allowed. That's the best mark in the Big East. Defense, and more defense. And Tyreek Jones, who has been a man. 18 rebounds apiece in his last 3 games. This is going to be a fun one. And if there's anyone who knows about the rivalry, it's the Musketeers head coach Travis Steele, who I caught up with earlier this week. 2-6 in the Big East to 5-6. Going inside your locker room, what was the moment where things changed?
You know, I thought we played even well against Marquette when we lost here in double overtime. You know, it was unfortunately we couldn't make a free throw in that game, but I thought our effort was good. I thought we had great togetherness. We tried to make the right plays on the offensive end, just didn't result in a win. And I told our guys after that, you know, I thought when Tyreek came up with the slogan "Unbreakable" was the word that we're using with our team, and it came from him. And you know, he wanted to keep this group together, you know, stick together through tough times. And he's done a great job of leading our group. I knew when he came up to me and said, "Hey, this is the word we want to use," I was like, you know what? I think we're going to turn this thing around.
So the story goes Tyreek Jones, who's 3rd in the country with 16 double-doubles, having an amazing senior season. He sent that around to the players and coaches, or how did that all transpire?
He sent it to the players first, and then he kind of brought it to my attention that, hey, this is the word we would like to start breaking our huddles with. And I said, well, what's the meaning behind it? And I said, also, it can't be a thing that just lasts one day. This has to be, the rest of the season. And he said, Coach, I think this fits our team. And it's a lot more powerful coming from one of our players than it is coming from me. So it gives us a lot of purpose and kind of a rally cry almost every time we break our huddles during games.
Tyreek's classmate Quentin Gooden said right now he's just a man to me last week. What are you seeing get unleashed from the big man?
I mean, he's the best rebounder in all of college basketball, and I think he's showing that right now. I want him not to only get 18, though, John. I want him to go get 20. That's what I've been telling. I said, you can go get 20 for me. But he's playing great. His voice, his intensity, he's the enforcer on our team, and to me, he's the best big man in the Big East.
Musketeers haven't had a big man average a double-double on the season since David West. I mean, I think that says enough right there.
Yeah, Dave West, pretty good, right?
Yeah, pretty good player. Turn to this matchup with Butler. How do you contain Kamar Baldwin?
Man, that's a great question. I wish I had an answer for you, John. He's tremendous. I mean, it's going to be a team effort. We got to keep him out of the paint. His dribble's never done. His pivots are never ending at the end of his drives. He's going to use a million ball screens. We got to keep our defense tight. Our big guys got to do a great job on ball screens of keeping him out of the paint. He's a hard matchup, and he's one of the best closers in all of college basketball.
What do you think about the way that Butler's played this year as opposed to last year?
They have the ability to play big now, which I think's really helped them. They can play with two bigs. They can play with four guards at times. And I think having that ability to maneuver either direction, dependent upon the game, has really, really helped them defensively and offensively.
When you think about the conference standings, that one at the top that Seton Hall has is from you guys. How much does that just show what Xavier's capable of?
I think it shows that we believe that we can beat anybody in our league, no matter where it's at. And, obviously Seton Hall, we got tremendous respect for them and their program. It was a heck of a win for us. We played really well, but it shows, again, that we can go do it as long as we play to our identity and we stick together. We can beat anybody in this league.
What's the area that you've seen grow and maybe the area that you still see room for improvement that needs to get better as you come down that home stretch?
I think our defense has been really good. If you just took the month of February, we'd be the number one overall defensive team in the entire country. We're guarding at a really high level right now, and we're rebounding at a really high level. And that's the key, is we've limited teams to one shot only. Now, the area of growth that I would like to see our team continue to make is just the decision-making on the offensive end. And as long as it's heading in the right direction, but there's still a lot of room for growth in that area. And if we do that, I think we got guys that can make shots, and especially if we get the quality shots.
All right, finally, when we air this interview, it's going to be a special day in the Steele family, so it's time for a birthday shout-out.
Yeah, Winston Steele's my son's 7th birthday, and the only thing he asked, John, was to get a win versus Butler. That's all he wants for his birthday.
Can you think of a better birthday gift?
No, there's not a better one. He's coming to the Butler game. I said, hey, hopefully we can get it for you. We'll celebrate after.
Big time. Travis Steele. Xavier, Butler, Wednesday night. Coach, thanks so much for the time. Good luck.
Thank you, John.
You are looking live inside the Prudential Center. Miles Powell and Seton Hall gearing up for a matchup with the Creighton Blue Jays. Pirates warming up right now at the Rock. Back home here, 10-1 in the Big East. They've won 12 of their last 13 games and have a 3-game lead in the conference. It really is something. Yes, the Pirates were picked at the top of this league, but when you think about this conference, which has 5 teams in the top 25 of the AP poll, all 10 teams in the net top 80, and right now projected 6 teams in the NCAA tournament, it just tells you about the job that they've been able to do. Really something here in Newark. And tonight on the other side, a Creighton team that showed its mettle when it beat Villanova at the Wells Fargo Center a couple weeks ago. This Blue Jays team can light it up from 3. That brings us to our keys to the game. Seton Hall's size Romaro Gill, Ike Obiagu, two towers of terror. Up against a Creighton team that spaces the floor, that can shoot it.
Why are we listening to you?
Cut the
Why
B-roll
are we
off.
listening to
Look
you?
who's here.
This young, handsome stud
Oh,
of a
my.
dude. I remember him when he was in, freshman, sophomore year?
Yeah, at the Hall.
This dude right here, I'm so proud of you. You're doing so
And we
great,
love you
man.
guys.
Well, I love you, man. And I love them, you know.
So it's Ref bobblehead night.
That does not look anything like Bill Raftery. It looks like Jay Wright. But, you know, I had a guy come up to me and tell me, he said, I remember when he bought that suit.
He said it wasn't for his coaching.
Exactly. Anyway, I don't want to mess you up.
No,
Go ahead,
you
do
are
your
messing.
thing.
Gus Johnson's here. He's not messing him up.
Got his little tie and his nice suit on.
It's not little.
Well, get out of here. Yes.
Okay, this is Big East Shootaround. We are in Newark, New Jersey. The officials are out here. Everybody loves the officials. We were talking about keys to the game. So Seton Hall size versus Creighton spacing. What interests me in this one is Creighton, they're not a team that is oriented in the post. So for Seton Hall, they're going to go big. They're going to try to overwhelm Creighton with size. If I'm Creighton, I try to make Romaro Gill and Ike Obiagu if Obiagu's in, but mostly Romaro Gill, come out defensively on your 4 and 5 positions. Creighton can go small with Denzel Mahoney, with other players as well. That's going to be interesting here tonight to see if the Blue Jays offensively can go 5 out and try to go inside out. Talking with the Creighton coaching staff before this one, they said they're going to drive and kick. They're not going to try to put up shots on the interior. So look out tonight for Marcus Zegarowski to initiate this offense. It might look like he's about to put up a shot. He's going to drive and kick. He averages over 5 assists per game. He has been the reason why why Creighton has gotten to this point. Zegarowski is an All Big East selection, might be an All Big East first teamer because he's taken leadership. He's taken a toughness factor on for this team. He guards the ball really, really well. And in his sophomore season, I think he's one of the more improved players in the conference. But on the other side tonight is one of the more improved players in the Big East in Quincy McKnight. McKnight will look to take away Zegarowski. Not going to be an easy task, but with the way Quincy is defensively, he locks you down, he gets up in you. I'm fascinated to see Zegarowski on offense against McKnight on defense. I think that is a real key to this game here tonight in Newark. The point guard matchup is special. These are two of the best 3 in assists in the conference. Let's look at the Big East as a whole. 4 games on the night. This one gets it rolling, 6:30 Eastern time. You got the Pirates and the Jays, another top 25 showdown. Villanova and Marquette follows it on FS1. Think about this, folks. In college basketball this week, there are 5 top 25 games, 5 ranked versus ranked games. The Big East has 2 of the 5. No other conference has more than 1. St. John's Providence over at Carneseca. That's going to be a defensive battle. And then you also have Xavier and Butler. Travis Steele talking about what it means. And how about the Musketeers? Living life on the bubble. Another quad 1 road win for them would be huge. We want to thank Bill Raftery. It's his bobblehead night. They're honoring him out here right now. Want to thank Gus Johnson for his special guest appearance. Catch them on FS1 here this evening. Here's what we know, folks. There's not an off night. If you take a team lightly, you're going to pay. And just because there's some separation from the top spot in the Big East standings and then the middle, Creighton showed they can win on the road. Like, if you were going to say their style doesn't travel, well, I would counter-argue and say it's traveled to Wells Fargo Center, where Villanova, they've only lost 6 home games since 2013. Tonight for Villanova, this is a get-right game, but it's very tough to do that when Marcus Howard, Sakar Annam, Kobe McEwen have won 6 of their last 7. Providence St. John's expect to war in Queens. Xavier Butler, first to 60 wins. 4 games, expect good finishes, high-level players. This is what this conference is all about. And this time of year, buckle up. Expect the unexpected. Assume nothing. March just around the corner. It's going to be fun. Follow us on Twitter for all the highlights, all the updates at Big East MBB. Hashtag Big East Hoops. It's going down at 6:30 here. Seton Hall, 10-1 in the conference, winners of 12 of their last 13. And Creighton, Powell, Alexander, Zegarowski, McKnight. I could go on for days about this matchup. First meeting this season between the two. Thanks to Joe Binder on site, Bobby Mullen back in New York City. I'm John Fanta signing off for now from Newark. Big night of Big East hoops on the way. Thanks for joining us on Shootaround.